Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the WTF, sponsored by Love My Tool, weekly technical forum. Today is my great pleasure to introduce two fellow entrepreneurs. But before I do that, let me welcome my panel. We have Chris Behari. Chris, hi.
How you doing, Danny? Great to see you, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I would see you. I just figured that you'd be very busy already.
Absolutely, no. Excited to get the year going, and excited to hear what Stefan has to say. And they have a great product, and so looking forward to the show today.
Yeah, so I think that 2015. So one of my resolution is to get Garland to come in and do some maybe technical presentations, that could fit into Shockfest.tv or maybe even we had even talked about LMTV for newbies. So that's sort of my New Year resolution.
Great. I will add it to mine as well. I know we talked about.
I figure you have some marketing money. I should do my best to spend it for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tim and I talk about this. We just said, well, rather than asking for permission, why don't he just write us a check and we just do it? We just do the whole thing for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
No thinking, no nothing. Yeah. Hey, Tim.
Hello. How's everybody today?
Very good. Very good. Good seeing you, man.
Yeah, and it's great to see Panos and Stefano and Chris also.
Hey, Tim, why don't you introduce our two guests today, Stefano and Panos? We kind of, they discover us or we discover them, I don't remember which, but we've been very excited with what they do.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have a great product. They take in a whole different perspective. It's a lot of times there are a lot of Me Too products out there, and I would say conservatively 95% of the products are all about the core, the center of the network, because that's where all the technical people are, and it's pretty expensive to send them out in the field to check a computer problem. So what they've done, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stefano, is and by the way, these are two great Irishmen we brought on here, so just want you to know. But they've taken a whole different perspective. They're looking at the issues in the network from the user's perspective, and a lot of people forget that covers just about everything. If your user is having problems, it's either one, the device they're using, the BYOD, or their computer or their cell phone, whatever application they're using is a problem. Okay, the WAN is the problem, or something in the core, and it's very hard when you're in the core to be able to say, well, the WAN is working fine and the user out there is doing wonderful. That's where most of our problems are coming from now. Our attacks are coming from it, our malware is coming from it, and just downright stupid users sometimes. Unfortunately, they don't mean to be harmful, but they're not trained that well. So now we have a product that can look at the network from the user's perspective, and also user to user. So if you've got a cloud technology, or you got a distributed information technology, or you have many locations, their technology can pretty much tell you where your problem lies pretty quickly from what I've seen. I haven't been able to use it yet. I'm not that smart, but I look forward to trying it out. But it is good. And also, every time I speak to anybody, I want to mention that when we talk about access to the network, there's perspectives, but if you're in the core and you want to see what's going on in the network, please don't tell me you're using SPAN or VACLs. Those are just not acceptable in today's environment. You've got to use a TAP. I don't even know why, as Denny and I always jokingly laugh about, is why are we still talking about how valuable a TAP is in the real world? But nonetheless, I want to present the two great guys that I've got to meet from NetBeez. And I actually have a t-shirt, but I didn't wear it today. Sorry, gang, I should have, but it's impressive on my large body. So, I
Thank
want
you,
to wish
Tim.
you great success.
Thank you, Tim. So with that, I'd like to introduce our two guests today. Stefano Gridelli is the CEO. I think they just rolled the dice and he got the I don't know how that works. I know how it worked for my last company. Yeah, so good morning, Stefano.
Yeah, good morning. Hi, Danny. Hi, Tim. Hi, Chris. It's really great to be here. First time I love my tool. We're really excited. And I'm here with Panos also. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and Panos is your co-founder. He's hang on just one second. So
Denny, we lost you.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh.
Stefano, you have two other co-founders, and I guess one of them has to work, right?
Right. So one is holding on the fort is Panickos. I'm here today with the Panos. But yeah, we're three co-founder. Myself from Italy, Panos from Greece, and Panickos, the CTO from Cyprus.
Yeah. So we have like Tim said, we have he and I guess Chris, you have an Irish heritage. I didn't even know.
I have a little. I guess I really got to just say American because I'm Italian, Hungarian, English, Irish, Russian, and German. So,
a
little. I'm a melting pot.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we're all Americans today. So we're telling an American story, which is the greatest story of the world, which is how do you start from nothing? And now, so let me just say hello to Panos. Hi, Panos.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us today. And nice seeing you, Tim and Danny, after all this email discussion we have been having. And Chris, nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you.
So before I let Stefano do more of the talking, I do have to mention that NetBeez has been selected as a vendor, as a tools supplier for Interop. Which is coming up in April in Las Vegas. For those of you out there who might not know, I'm sure you know Interop, and we have in the past interviewed Glenn Evans, who's the chief engineer. But one thing that you might not know is that the Las Vegas show Interop actually has a live network called Interop Net. It's a mission critical network, and the engineers make decisions as to who they want to choose for the two suppliers. So they don't just do it for advertising reason. They do it because that's what they need to really protect the network. So it's a great honor and a great opportunity actually to be selected. And I was very impressed as I was preparing for this show that NetBeez is now a sponsor. Is that true, Stefano?
Yeah, that is correct. We're really excited. We submitted the application in December, and it was really great to be accepted at InteropNet to support, the network that will be basically providing connectivity to the exhibiting companies in Las Vegas late in April.
So with that, maybe we can kind of dive into your company. Now, one of the things that I talk about in the past, in terms of what are the necessary ingredients for building a successful startup, is that you have to have a person in the company who is what I call a surrogate customer, someone who might not know the technology, but definitely know what the customer needs. And I believe you're filling that role. I mean, this product idea actually came from you, or came from all of you, but you specifically because you were working as a network engineer. Is that true?
Yeah, that is correct. I started my career after graduating from computer science as a network engineer in a pretty large company with more than 400 network locations. So pretty complex, a large network environment, a large WAN. So I noticed the problem firsthand working as a network engineer, that no matter the amount of investment, no matter the skills, right, there was this problem in network management and network monitoring. And I think that was important for the company to have that first-hand experience as a customer, right? right, to basically build the product. And it started really as an obsession, like you feel like every day that you need a tool that can do this and that. Maybe you can build it yourself with the open source tools, but you don't have the expertise, right? Maybe the management is too complicated. And at the same time, you're a network engineer, your bread and butter is routing and switching, right? It's not like building tools or configuring operating systems. So you want something that everybody can use at the end of the day. And that's how it really started.
Mm-hmm. So just continue the story. So how did you then go from that? And I like the way you use the word obsession. We talk about passion, but it was really more of obsession. Obsession.
That is correct. It is an obsession because, and it must be because as a startup, as you can imagine, and you live the same life, at the beginning it's pretty difficult, right? There is a lot of challenges. The network monitoring market is pretty dense, pretty highly competitive, so you need a lot of energy to compete in this market. But at the end, we knew that NetBeez was worth our time as a team, right? Because we really see there was no such a solution that would fit the requirements and the needs of network engineers like me, right? Are working every day dealing with the complexity in networking. So I guess Panickos and Panos joined. We formed the team as co-founders, and we really had complementary skills because I'm a network engineer, but I don't know how to develop a
now, you mentioned that they're from Greece and Cyprus, but you didn't actually, you guys met in Pittsburgh.
Right, correct. Right. So actually we're friends before NetBeez. We just were hanging out from time to time, and so we met in Pittsburgh. Like I was working as a network engineer. Panickos was a PhD student at the time at the University of Pittsburgh. PhD in computer science. His kind of expertise is in distributed system and databases, while Panos was a postdoc at the time at Carnegie Mellon University. He was basically doing kind of computer engineering, FPGA programming, and other cool stuff.
I just want you to know that it's a warning from a fellow entrepreneur. You met your quotas in PhDs, okay? You don't need that many PhDs in a startup, and you already met your quotas.
Right, yeah. So there are two.
Because otherwise you're gonna have to start shooting them before you ship products, okay? Now both Tim and I have PhDs, so we can say that.
Great. Yeah, I'm the only one, the non-PhD. So yeah, definitely, and that's how it started. So it started with a discussion like, hey, I have this problem, this obsession, and Panickos and Panos. Panickos has the passion to solve in an elegant way problems. Panos as well, and also we like also to build our company, but the primary purpose was really solving a problem and doing it together as a team. So we decided to apply here. There is a local startup accelerator, as you see always more in the US and around the world, called Alpha Lab. And we applied to Alpha Lab. We received the first funding, so we had the shot to at least start developing the product, right? So of course, weekends, and evenings, we start working together and assembling the first MVP, the first kind of alpha or beta product.
Now we are going to do another show where Panos is going to do more of the presentation on the technology in our product. So we still have about another 15 minutes, which is a lot of time left in the show. So I want to really talk more about the company if we could. So the company was started. You and Panos and your other co-founder got together, what, 3 years ago?
Exactly 2 years ago. I think January the 6th. Yeah, 2 years ago.
And you, but you're out of the cell phone now. You're shipping product now, right?
Yeah, we started February 2014. So the first 6 months were just development and making sure that mine was not an isolated case, right? That we had a market, we had a need. We were not just living the startup life.
Well, just to confirm that, we talk about how many customers you have now, how many nodes or whatever, however you want to measure that. And you gave me a number, which I forgot.
Right. So we have still as a startup we have around 10 customers, a little less, but we already installing a large amount of agents per customer. Like our larger customers has 160 agents, right? So as you can imagine, we measure success with the number of agents per customer deployed.
And just again, we're going to talk more about that in the next show. But in your case, the agents is actually a hardware box that you deploy in the field, right?
Right, and I have here one sample with me. We use Raspberry Pi in this case because it's it's powerful and price competitive product, but we develop software, right? So we basically load the software agents on this small hardware, and then we ship the customer the plug-and-play solution. Basically, that is the agent that they just plug on any access layer, right, of their small office or larger building. And then there is the central server that manages and controls all these agents deployed.
Now, so just for audience benefit, let's take the interop net, the mission critical network at interop as an example. Now, I mentioned that almost 10 years ago is when my last company is my first participation with InteropNet, and I don't think they changed that much today. Where basically they have the equivalent of a CO. They have the operational center, the central office, with everybody's hardware that they put behind plexiglass. Right? It's a showcase, but it's real. It's actually running the network, and then they run cables everywhere, and they have drop-off points. And so they have about 10 drop-off points. And then from that they fan out, and it could, I don't remember the exact number, but it's in the hundreds. It's in the hundreds in terms of booths, and it's in the thousands in terms of working nodes, right? From PCs to whatnot, right? And especially they have a lot of voice over IP kind of product all over the place. I mean, it's a very complicated network. It's really a showcase. Now, of course, what happened is that they have people out there. They have engineers that walk the floor with walkie-talkies, and if there's a complaint, they call back, and that's how they fix problems back in the CO. Now, your product changes that, right?
Right, exactly. So it's like having a checker or a tester working with walkie-talkie, making sure that the network works. We will just plug. Now I have to review with Glenn the plan, but potentially one agent per switch, perhaps, right? Or where there is an aggregate group of users, and make sure that the network keeps working, and there is end-to-end reachability, good performance, no packet loss, and good latency, right? So that's exactly the point of NetBeez, is like instead of relying on the end users to tell you problems, right? You have the bees, right, that do these checks for you continuously, and if there is a problem, even sporadic, you have the data now to pinpoint the problem. Is it on the network? Is it on the application layer? When it started, right? It's more end-to-end kind of testing from the user perspective.
And it's documentation, by the way. If anybody had an SLA, you can document it pretty quickly.
Exactly, right. Because we keep sending traffic, so we can measure down to the second level if the network was up and running, bottom line.
Yeah.
And I think as you were saying, is always more important now because the wide area network is growing in importance, right? Users, instead of using application on their desktop, are using the cloud. So network connectivity is key, right? So end-to-end reachability is key, and having up-down monitor information from SNMP tools is not enough. You must know if your users can access this or that network location and what is the performance of your applications. Because at the end, also network monitoring tools must be application aware.
It seems so obvious. I mean, it seems so obvious, but yet it's not done, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've seen lately we've seen two companies. We've got Tom Tosh with Chimetrics, and what he does is he installs a diagnostic agent which will grab all the information inside the remote PC, okay, and that way they can do diagnostics, see if it's services or events inside, poor processing, less lack of memory, all of that stuff, okay, where you guys do proactive testing all the time, and you will find out before the customer raises his hand and jumps on his chair and screams and shouts that I can't get through on my computer today. The network's broken, when it may not be the network at all. So we're seeing the paradigm shift now away from the central core network, but we're never going to see it go away, because if there is a problem, it's got to be diagnosed and
well, exactly. I mean, I'm just thinking. I'm always trying to think of analogy in a non-technical world. I mean, imagine I'm the CEO of Starbucks, and I got tens and hundreds of thousands of coffee shops all over the world. And my number one job is to make sure that the quality is consistent. So what do? I rely on the complaint from the consumer. Well, that's not going to work, right? Yeah. That's not going to work. I mean, what kind of business would that be? So of course I have agents. Of course I have of course I have quality control people out there doing what they're supposed to do. That way the consumers, the end users, can get the best experience. So I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is sort of like the analogy that you're proposing here. Why use the consumer as the quality control?
Yeah. Let me add something here, Danny.
Yes.
You said that it's kind of obvious, and having spoken to so many network engineers in the past 2 years, we've seen quite a few of them trying to do homegrown solutions of what we are doing right now. So they throw some old laptops, workstations maybe around the network, and run pings with scripts and collect information in a log. But it's difficult to scale it, right? You cannot maintain all the stations, upgrades, and all these things. But you're right about that it's a solution that it should be out there.
Mm-hmm. Actually, let me just continue with the non-technology theme, because we do definitely have a lot more time to talk about the technology. Let me ask that question, Panos. So when Stefano comes to you, he says, "Panos, my old friend, here's my proposal. Instead of being a famous professor somewhere, and use your hard-earned research technology, why don't you not get paid for 2 years?" and here's my idea, right? So how did he convince you? How did he convince you to do that? What is so great about his original idea that you?
So I've been a thinker for all my life, and actually I had the entrepreneurial bug in my blood even before coming to the U.S. I had a small product that's still selling in Greece, nothing huge, right? Just like a mom and pop and shop business, right? And even here in the US, I was looking around for opportunities to do something by myself. At the same time, I was a hardware guy. I used to build my own PCBs, playing with hardware, microprocessors here and there. And actually, the complementary skill that I had in this case was to work on the agent, right? The agent is a small hardware device where you need to program, so it's efficient, runs, very reliably. And I jumped onto it. I mean, for almost a year, I was moonlighting, so that was pretty tough because, we had to get paid from somewhere, right? And then I put the rest of my hours of the day to NetBeez.
And how did the idea using the Raspberry Pi, and for those of you out there who are not familiar with that, that's a $25 all-in-one networkable computer, basically, right? About it's about the size of a quarter.
It's like a credit card size. I can show it to you and hold up here a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's like a bar shop size. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this became very popular a couple of years ago when they came out. They were supposed to be only for educational purposes, but amateurs or professionals like us start using this practically small Linux workstation for different applications. And yeah, when Stefano came about with this idea, I'm like, well, that makes sense actually, right? So it's a very cool idea. I can confess I'm not a network engineer in my core, so I was really more like the guy that was ready to jump into a new idea and try to build this company from scratch. Then things came along. So the specific hardware, the benefits are that it's cheap, low cost, so you can deploy many of them at reasonable cost. We all know how much hardware costs in in enterprise, right?
I love this part of the story. I think there's something here to be learned from for the fellow entrepreneurs out there, which is you focus on where you can add value. And because too many times we say, okay, in order to do that, we need about $500,000 just to do the FPGA, and then another $500,000 build the box around that. And all of a sudden, you spend all your time trying to go out there doing fundraising, and even when you're successful, you realize that, whoa, what happened? This is not the company I had in mind, right? Whereas, so the question is never about wanting investment money or not, but when do you want it? Do you want it just as R&D money, or do you want it as really more of a growth money, right?
Exactly, right. So that saved us lots of lots of cash, capital expenses, right? So we don't have to spend so much now on either development servers or the hardware itself. And that's from a guy that has programmed FPGAs, and I know how difficult they are to program sometimes, and how difficult to maintain, and actually how much they cost. So yeah, that let us start a company with not needing so much money to get going with salaries and the capital.
Mm-hmm.
You have a different experience in 2005, I'm sure, right? Things were different at the time, but now, with all the cloud service and all the stuff, you don't need really to get going. You don't need much, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, we're coming up a half hour. It's that's what happens when you're having fun. So, Stefano, why don't you set up for us what as I mentioned, there's no way for us to do everything in half an hour, so we kind of break this up into two. Tell us about what to expect in the next segment.
In the next, I'm sorry?
On the next show, where we're gonna be, yeah.
Yeah, so Panos will offer a demonstration of NetBeez, so it's gonna show the Love My Tool audience how the dashboard looks like. We have an awesome dashboard, I would say. It is HTML5 based, developed by Panickos, our CTO. So it's going to give us a demonstration of how to interact through the dashboard with the agents that Panos was showing, and offer also some use cases of type of alerts that you can detect proactively with NetBeez.
Okay, good. And before we sign off, if people wanted to know more about your product, how do they find you?
Great question. They can find us at netbeez.net, so on our website, netbeez.net. You can request a 30-day trial, and we will ship you up to 500 agents. The dashboard is on the cloud, so it's really quick and easy to test for a trial period NetBeez, but also then to have an on-premise solution.
So the idea behind your company name Viz is that those agents are like the bees, right? And the dashboard is like the queen bee. Is that's
correct? So the bees are like bees that intelligently, like a swarm intelligence, they collaborate together to understand a little more what's going on the issue. And yes, the dashboard would be the hive or the queen bee, basically, where all the bees report to. So they eventually the data is all centralized, right? So the agents are the probes, basically, that send traffic and send back in real time network and application performance data back to the central server, the hive, that then process and crunches the data for alerts and for real-time information.
Yeah, well, you could tell that these guys have a whole lot of imagination.
If you buy a system, they'll send you a hive of bees.
Yeah. So with that, I'm gonna close the show and make sure you come back for the second segment of this this interview where we're gonna dive into the technology. But before I sign off, Chris, now these guys don't use tab, so
right.
But on the other hand, somebody else would, and if they're interested in buying the best tabs in the world, how do they do that? How do they find you?
At garlandtechnology.com, and no, great job, Stefano and Panos. Exciting product you guys have. So I'm excited about it. You see more and more companies going. And I do have a little cold, I think, or allergy, so apologize for that. But a lot of companies are going to the remote sites, and you need that easy plug and play for management. More and more people are moving to the cloud, and as you mentioned, as a startup, we're still, I consider, startup mentality. And when I started Garland, what do? We went out to NetSuite. We went out to Google Mail. We got VoIP phones. Everything's virtual now, and more companies are going in that direction, and more people are going to have remote offices, remote sites. So having a product that you can go plug in at the remote sites and manage is exciting. So I look forward to meeting you guys in person, and great to network with other entrepreneurs.
Actually, Stefano, there's a lesson here. I mentioned earlier that Chris and I had been partners for my last company, and Chris does a really good job in building partnerships, and people tend not to understand how partnership work, right? Partnership, and some people say, well, it's a win-win. That's how it works. Well, actually, as a startup, you need to think less about your competitors and more about your customers. And you need to think about your customers in terms of what tools they need and how do they deploy them so that they can spend less time at work and more time with the kids and wives. That's what it's all about, right? So I wonder if it makes sense for you to have a partnership with some of the more on the application. If someone are thinking of buying a suite of product from someone, and what stopped them from actually deploying is that they have no way of doing the diagnostic or the quality control. That's where you guys would come in, right?
Yeah, I think you hit a good point. I think, as you said, like a solution like a Chris would be really complementary, and that's what we believe. It's not that NetBeez is replacing existing tools. Like large and complex enterprise networks, they need SNMP up-down network monitoring tools. They need the passive and taps type of capture tools like Garland Technologies and Chris devices, and then they need active, right? So as they, those three elements together are necessary for, to manage today network complexity. And and actually, yeah, definitely looking forward to follow up with Chris. I know also we're really close by, and from time to time I pass by Buffalo, so I'm definitely looking forward to meeting with him soon.
Well, we look forward to learning more about NetBeez. So any last word, Tim, before I sign off?
No, I just think this is a great technology. I don't think it eliminates the need for central monitoring. As a matter of fact, if anything, it probably elevates it because it gives a much better view of the, instead of having everybody in the network running around like their heads are cut off, now they can focus on where the problem is. And, it's most of the time you find something inside the network that's bad. So it doesn't eliminate needing taps and monitors like you were talking about, Stefano. But it does give you an incredible view. And I think one person you guys should meet and talk to is Tom Tosh of Chimetrics, because he does the diagnostics. He installs a thin client, but that thin client could be installed in the NetBeez or in the Raspberry Pi. And it would be an incredible diagnostic tool. So that would be something to consider. So I'll do that. And I'm just glad you guys got on here. Unlike Denny, I like companies that are starting up with new ideas and shaking the world up. So we haven't bent light yet, but we're getting close.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tim. So be sure to tune in next week again for the technical presentation. So with that, I bid you goodbye. Thanks again, Stefano. Thanks again, Panos.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having us here. It was really our pleasure, and thanks again.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye. Be good.
Bye-bye, everybody. Be safe.